Hey, it is time for a chat with Pat.
Yes, it is. And before I go into that, I want to clarify that yes, depression is a disease at times,
Amen. Yeah.
but I think there are many ways to treat it. So I want to, we've got to treat the whole person, spiritually, emotionally, physically. Exercise seems to help. I'm just throwing that all out there. Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes you do need medicine, but a lot of times you don't.
Yes, exactly. So you got to consider it all. Okay, so yes, today is Bradley Shumaker. He is an attorney and military veteran and the associate editor of At the Everyman. And his articles have appeared in the Everyman and the Catholic Post. And this was an article that showed up in National Catholic Register, and it's called What Catholics Need to Know About Magic, Divination, and the Occult. Welcome, Bradley. How you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, this is a very interesting story. The one thing, though, I want to get right out and get started with is why did you write this story? Do you feel that this is something that is growing? Do you think we're just not clued in? What was behind this?
Yeah, I have a simple answer. It's curiosity. I, wasn't able to find anything that would answer, the questions that I was having. So I thought, as a sort of a kind of a writer, I ought to just write something myself. So I was answering some of my own questions when I wrote it.
Well, that's good. I mean, curiosity moved you in a good direction then. So as you talk about this with us, I first want to see, do you think this is a growing issue in our society? Do you see more of this going on around you? What are you feeling about that? What do you sense?
Yeah, I think it is a growing issue, and I think the growing issue is the misunderstanding or even ignoring of the issue. And I think the term supernatural and the other term superstition, I think they're very much misunderstood in the secular world. And so I was hoping to remind people of what those terms truly mean and what they actually mean.
Great. So take us into that, Bradley. Explain this idea of supernatural superstition to our audience.
Yeah, I mean, the supernatural is just as simple as it, transcends our world. But most people in the secular world will think of it just as it's something having to do with ghosts and spirits. And there's a lot of that on TV right now and in popular culture. And then superstition, I think most people think it's just sort of practices that people have that are innocuous, but the Bible makes clear that the word superstition really is associated with things that are very bad and things that we shouldn't be doing. And I don't think the non-religious world, the secular world, popular culture is thinking in that way, and they should be. And that was what I was intending to do, was remind people where the word actually comes from and what it means and what it represents.
So all of these things that you talk about in your article, like when you talk about superstition, you talk about human sacrifice, divining, black magic, necromancy. Does all of that fall under the broad range of the occult?
I believe it does. I think it's not, that word's not used in Deuteronomy in the Old Testament, where it's discussing, superstition, and it's discussed in the footnote as well. Mm-hmm. But I believe so. And now I would say, keep in mind, and this goes back to part of my confusion and my wanting to clarify, was what's a little bit unclear is when you say magic, it seems not so clear. That could be harmless, mm-hmm. but I think it's black magic that we're talking about, and superstition and witchcraft and sorcery, and that's really different from just plain, stage magic or magic done for entertainment and not used for trying to trick people, because that's a whole other issue there. But so that was another point I was hoping to make in the article.
And you did it quite well. So kind of explain for our audience divination, because that's a kind of something a lot of people don't understand, or they don't see what they're doing as divination.
Yeah, I if someone asked me to define that term, a couple of months ago, I mm-hmm. probably wouldn't have been very clear, and I would have had a lot of trouble. And what I found is just as simple as trying to tell the future. And there's many, many different ways that we all know that happens with horoscopes and palm readings and fortune telling and all kinds of different practices. And they're all lumped under divination, and it's all clearly said in the Bible and in the Catechism that we shouldn't be doing those things.
And you use the word necromancy. I'm sure a lot of Catholics are not familiar with that at all, a lot of people in general. Can you explain that for our audience?
Yeah, me included. A couple of months ago, I've heard the term used in pop culture,
right?
And I never really appreciated it. But apparently, as I understand it, it originally meant divination by means of trying to contact the dead or spirits. And that's kind of interesting because then it was originally sort of a subset of divination, but then again, you don't need to be asking about the future when you're trying to contact the dead. Mm-hmm. So I guess I think it's easier to think of as just a straightforward, you're trying to contact dead persons or spirits or someone or something that's not from this world. And then it's even gotten bigger than that because now we've got concepts of raising the dead and zombies, and those are all coming from stories and pop culture. But I would just say the simplest way to think of necromancy is attempts to contact the dead. And all those, of course, are wrong as well.
Right. So like Ouija boards, seances, those kinds of things. And Ouija boards, when they came out, were just seen as kind of a game kind of thing. They weren't, because I remember I got one when I was smaller, and it wasn't like my parents.
We had one.
We're very Catholic, and there was no way they thought we were contacting spirits or the dead.
They were sold at Toys R Us, and I think that it was made by Parker Brothers, one of the bigger companies. So it was viewed as not such a big deal. And I'm looking and doing this rearch, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh.
We just spent time accusing the other person of pushing it. That's what we did. Pushing it around the board. You're pushing it, aren't you? Because I don't think any of us really thought there was something supernatural going on there. So I was very interested to see how that comes into play here. That it can be seen as contacting spirits or the dead. As you looked at necromancy, did you find it connected with anything with grieving people, getting involved in that, or was that kind of way beyond your scope of what you were trying to do with this article?
Yeah, I would say it was beyond the scope,
okay.
But I can also tell you I didn't come across that. But as you bring it up, I think it's a very valid point.
Yeah. So explain to us then, kind of to get to the heart of it, why is the magic tricks that we see people do on stage, making people disappear, all those kinds of things, how is that different and okay versus, because John Bosco did it, St. John Bosco. How is that different?
Right.
Yeah, how's that different?
You're not trying to contact and work with and cooperate with occult forces, right? You're merely doing the same thing as you might be doing when you're singing and dancing or something. You're just attempting to entertain, but you're not calling on dark forces to give you power over history or over time or over other people. So the Bible doesn't say it's okay because it probably didn't happen thousands of years ago that people were doing entertaining magic tricks, but it certainly seems to be okay.
Well, thank you, Bradley. This was an enlightening story. Thanks for taking time with us today. Have a good week ahead.
Thank you. You as well.